John chapter 2, we get a picture of the sort of preamble to Jesus' ministry that we don't really get in any other the other Gospels. Two stories that really tell us what Jesus' ministry is going to be about. The first, Jesus turning water to wine in Cana, and second, Jesus chasing the money changers out of the temple. The first event it strikes a lot of people as unusual. It's very different from his other miracles, and it's his first miracle. So a lot of people are wondering, what is this about? Well, Jesus is at a wedding with his disciples and with his mother Mary, probably a relative of Jesus' wedding, and they're celebrating, they're having a good time, and they run out of wine. And Jesus' mother, Mary, asks Jesus to help. So apparently she knew that he could perform miracles. He'd been doing this in some private way beforehand, that she knew this sort of miraculous nature of Jesus. Obviously, she knew that he had been prophesied about beforehand. And so Jesus goes and he tells them to fill up the water jars, and then it becomes wine. And the head steward says something really interesting, which is sort of the statement that's indicative of what Jesus is doing through this. And he says, most people, when they serve the wine, they serve the better wine in the beginning, and once people have become a little bit drunk, they serve the worse wine. But you, he says to the bridegroom, he says, you served the better wine in the second part, later on. And what it's indicative of, this water that Jesus has produced miraculously is better than the first wine. And it's in the midst of this celebration. And so this is actually a really cool picture of what Jesus is, the core of Jesus' ministry. He's coming to bring this celebration, this great and good thing. You can think about this wedding party, this Jewish style wedding party. They're dancing, they're having fun, they're seeing relatives, they're enjoying themselves, and and he's providing this wine, which is going to help them to continue on, this celebration, this joy of it. And what Jesus is basically showing is that his ministry is coming to bring, people have been relating to God beforehand through the Old Testament, but Jesus is bringing something new, something fresh, something better than what has existed up until this point. He's bringing a way of relating to God. He's bringing a way of life that is going to be so much richer and better than what had come before. So God is doing something new, so much richer and better. And this, obviously, no one who was there really knew about this. This is something that probably John and probably Mary and others recognized in hindsight when they thought back to this event, that, that's what Jesus meant. It is this richer life that he brought us into. The second event is the cleansing of the temple. So one thing Jesus is bringing people into this richer, greater relationship with God, greater life that God has meant for people through Jesus, that we're accessing that. The second is him going into the temple, apparently early on in his ministry, as John describes it, and because he goes again later at the end of his life, and his statement is a little bit different at the one he does at the end, is he's more directly going against the Pharisees. But in the beginning, he's chasing out the money changers, and he's saying, don't turn my Father's house into a marketplace. And basically, he is saying, you need to take God seriously. He's sort of chasing out this lackadaisical attitude towards God that has risen up. And in the temple of all places, where worship of God is supposed to happen, where people are supposed to be finding God, coming to know him, worshiping him, instead it's turned into a marketplace. And he is disturbed by this. And this is sort of another, you can say, sort of purpose. Jesus is cleaning up the wrong way people have been relating to God, the wrong way people have been relating to God, or being in fellowship with God, or the wrong way that people have been treating God within their lives, the wrong way that the Jewish leaders have been treating God and introducing people to the Lord. So these are the two sort of hands of the ministry Jesus is bringing forward that John gives us, this deep, new, joyful way of relating to God. And on the other side, this condemnation of some of these wrong things that have risen up. Jesus is going to break this wrong system that has risen up and sort of formed, and he is going to bring this new, better, more joyful way so that people can relate and have this fellowship with God.